Hey everybody, and welcome to the PC Gamer Show. My name is Tom Marks here on a very special episode for me, but probably nobody else. It is my birthday today for this PC Gamer Show.
I was going to wish you happy birthday as a surprise, Tom, but you've jumped the gun and
I'm excited about it.
yourself.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know it was your birthday.
Haha, we surprised
Bad
Steve.
friend.
Steve did know, he just didn't care.
He was
I woke up
intentionally ignoring
and the first thought I had this morning is, it's Tom's birthday, and I'm not going to say anything.
it. Like as you opened your eyes in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's going to be a fun show. We got a little bit of an oddly like Ubisoft heavy show today. We're going to be talking about Ghost Recon Wildlands, and then also going to be talking about Rainbow Six Siege, which Steven was just at the World Championships of and had conversations with some of the developers there. It just kind of worked out that way. Ubisoft is kind of having like a weirdly busy time of year. They've also got For Honor coming out, I don't know, in the next couple weeks.
Cranking them games out.
Yeah, it's odd, but so it's a little heavy there. But we're gonna break those conversations up because we do have a Catfantastic quiz today, which I am very excited about. Steven has never done one of these, which I'm pumped to have him
I'm less
on.
excited about the quiz.
But I know a lot of you guys out there have been requesting it. I figured it's my birthday, I get to do what I want, and I put together a little bit of a birthday themed quiz. It's not exactly birthday questions.
All the questions about you and your life.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
I'll
that's what I was
probably do
gonna
about as well
wonder.
as I normally
How
do.
many bow ties do I don't even know the answer to that one
It's more
actually.
than 50. It's more than 50.
I don't think so actually. Yeah.
Oh.
I think it's around 40 something. I
Are
don't
we
know.
going to be talking about E3, Tom?
40 bow ties.
We can talk about E3,
About
yes.
Them, about them letting the real people in?
The real people.
The consumers.
Yeah, let's touch on that real quick
Welcome,
actually.
consumers.
Yeah, so
Welcome.
they actually said consumers in their tweet
I
saying
know,
that.
everyone's beating them up about it, but like, what? I don't know.
So
What did you want them to say? Plebs?
Yeah.
Friends? Friend? Would have been like, welcome, friends.
Yeah. So if
New
anybody
friends.
didn't hear, E3 is open to the public this year. Open to the public meaning if you pay hundreds of dollars, you can go. But
What is the price then?
I think it's like $160 for a 1 day and about $260 for a 3-day pass.
Wow.
I believe.
Consumers indeed.
Yeah, I mean it's not as expensive as some shows though. Like it's obviously more expensive than things like PAX and stuff, but it's not as expensive as it could be.
High-class orgies which charge on entry for people.
But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I don't really have a feeling one way or the other because
Wait, is it less than PAX then? Maybe that's not so bad.
less than PAX. I actually don't know the price of PAX.
Listen to
I
us.
think
in our
PAX is
ivory-
about like 140. I don't know.
Listen to us in our ivory towers, not knowing the price of things. You've shamed us.
Oh,
I haven't
so
bought a game-related thing in years.
Crazy Canuck, who actually just resubscribed for 4 months. Thank you very much for that. Actually said that I got those numbers a little bit wrong. It's 150 for the first 1,000 tickets for all 3 days, and it's 250 for the remaining 14,000 tickets that they're selling. So if you buy early, it's 150,
Early bird.
and later it's 250.
Early
Thank you for the
E3
clarification there. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to me. I think a point that I saw a couple people make was that I thought was interesting was like a lot of the things that happen at E3 are still behind locked doors where like, you know, press has to set up specific appointments to even go see. So there's going to be a lot of just like closed doors. But yeah.
To be honest, I wouldn't recommend anyone go. 'Cause-
Yeah.
Yeah, to go to E3 and then just stand in lines to play a game for 5 minutes. Like I can't. I mean, unless you're just a real diehard. Like there's not a lot going on E3 that happens like on the show floor, unless you have appointments booked.
You'll get all the announcements regardless of if you're at the show or not.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to sound like just the miserable old man, but like the best way to experience E3, and I say this as someone who does still enjoy going, and we put on our own show that have done for the last 2 years, but the best way to experience it is through Twitch. Like your access now is essentially the same as it was in the golden old days of games journalism when I was but a young buck, in the sense that all the companies worth their salt who've kind of got their shit together broadcast essentially their behind closed doors stuff, usually as part of presentations that they run anyway. So you can just sit in your pants and watch all of E3 unfurl without any of the running between the different halls and navigating massive queues and your back getting put out and eating in the dreadful cafe.
Just fly to LA, get a
Just got a
hotel
little
room.
personal there.
Fly to LA, get a hotel room, order some room service, and then just watch it on Twitch, but still on location. That's the way to do it.
I don't know. I'm gonna put that one in the maybe pile.
Why?
But let's jump along from news. I'm just gonna ignore Steven because he ignored me, and that's the way that this is gonna go.
Savage.
We just got another face palm image for you, Steven. That's like there's too many of those stacking up. But this is nice. I maybe we'll do this more often. Let me know if you guys like this. The last 2 weeks now we've done like kind of a current events, like big news story that happened or big-ish news story that happened before we do Now Playing. If you're interested in more of that, let me know in the comments at pcgamer.com/podcast or on our Discord at discord.gg/pcgamer or anything like that. But let's go to our Now Playing section specifically, because I have some games I want to talk about. Tim, I know you're playing something new. Why don't you begin?
It's a hot, fresh new game, and it's called Fallout 4. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. But yeah, to celebrate's the wrong word. Because the texture pack came out this week, the high-res texture pack, I've been downloading that, which obviously took some time in of itself because it's 58 gigs worth of slightly better sand.
It's not worth it.
Well, this is the thing, Chris. I mean, that's definitely where Chris Livingston, our survival game expert, and it's not a survival game, but like he does Fallout and Skyrim mostly for us. He kind of landed up on it's probably not worth it. But as someone who is basically like a giant baby when it comes to graphics, like I really like them to look pin sharp. And when Fallout 4 first came out, I like completely bounced off it just because I found it so ugly. Like I thought it was that kind of tired old engine, and it felt all a bit seen it before, but just that slight improvement in resolution has persuaded me to go back in, and I'm enjoying it very much.
But the thing to me is like, even full games that are 58 gigs, I'm like, I don't know if this is worth it to me. Like, even if like it's like a great, like could be the best game of the year. If it's 60 gigs, I'm like...
The textures alone, Tom, are like double the size of the install of the game. Like, the game is like 20-something gig, and the textures are 58 now. And I'm sure chat is saying like... if you just installed some good mods beforehand, you could have had exactly this experience. And they are, of course, right. But
you like the work done for you?
Well, part of me, I suppose, likes the idea that this is what the kind of the art team on the game, this is their kind of ideal version of it. Sometimes you get, when you get a mod, sometimes they'll go too far and they'll put like effectively like National Geographic, photographic, realistic stuff in, but it will throw the look of the game out. Do you know what I mean? Like it won't quite feel like it's designed from the same place.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it fine. I'm not too far in. I'm only just done Sanctuary and Concord, so very much at the start. But I'm just sort of playing it while I've got a TV show on. You can just bumble around.
I want to call out a couple of subscribers real quick. Toham subscribed for 5 months, says, please deliver Tom his birthday beats in the live stream, which sounds terrifying. I think that's up to Tim, honestly.
I don't know how they do it around Tohar's way. People just get beaten up on their birthday.
You usually get like the amount of punches you turn +1 for good luck.
Man, this country's rough.
Yeah,
as I'm learning.
And then Ian Ing subscribed for 12 months. That's your anniversary subscription. Thank you very much. And then another very important announcement. James wants us to let us know via the chat that Tim, the Elder Scrolls Legends game that you left halfway through, Lucas has won it for you.
You better have done, because I left him with about like 6 animals on the board. The other guy nearly dead. And Lucas looked very confident. I've been playing, I've also gone back into playing Elder Scrolls Legends. We had Pete Hines in the office to chat to us about the game, and partly as I wanted to prepare for that interview, I've been playing that every day, just doing my quests and stuff. Unfortunately, not many other people are. It's me and about half a dozen other people on the ladder. Sometimes you queue into the same guy straight away. That's what
man.
Yeah, it's bad. If he's beating you, it's bad.
Well, Lucas managed to finish that off. For those who you guys didn't see, but like literally I went and got Tim like a few minutes before the show started, and he was like standing over his desk. Like, I just gotta, like, it's almost done. It's almost like he just had to get that fix in before the show.
James, if you're listening, please give Lucas the opposite of whatever beats are.
Kisses. No, don't do that.
Speaking of card games, though, one of the main thing I wanted to talk about that I've been playing lately is actually Gwent. So we just gave away a bunch of closed beta codes for Gwent, and then Gwent themselves also gave away a bunch, or GOG did. I guess it's all CD Projekt. I really didn't think I would like it at all, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
I don't seem to, like, as someone who really likes CCGs, and Wes has tried to teach me a couple of times, obviously playing The Witcher, it desperately tries to teach you it at every opportunity. Would you like to play Gwent? No, not at all. But whenever I've looked at it, like aesthetically, I really like the cards. I like that kind of that sort of laned battle structure. It feels different to Hearthstone in a way that Elder Scrolls Legends doesn't. That feels very much cut from the same sort of cloth. But I always just kind of bounce off the strategically what I'm trying to do. Like Wes is going, well, you need to throw this game so that you've got more stuff left for that game. And I'm like, what? I just need to win all the time, don't I? Like I find that very hard to get my head around.
For me, it's kind of like that's actually made it a little bit nicer for me because it's taken away a lot of this, like the ladder anxiety and stress of it. Obviously, there's not even ranked yet. It's just casual matches online. But it's taken away a bit of the like, I got to win this game. And also the fact that you don't really draw very many cards. Like
you kind of just have what you start with, right?
Yeah, you start with 11 cards, I think it is. It might be 10 plus your like hero card or whatever it is. But you start with like around 10 or 11, and then on the second round you draw 2, and if you get to a third round you draw 1 more. And there are cards that will let you draw other cards. But I very much like that.
Isn't it part of the fun in a card game, the draw step, though, seeing what pops out of the deck?
It is, but this is like a very different card game to me where it's like basically it takes away the stress of like, oh my God, is he going to top deck X card? Or, oh man, I just need to draw this card and I win. And it puts me more in a mindset of like...
I feel triggered even hearing you say that.
It puts me more in a mindset of like, here are the tools you have at your disposal. Figure out how to win this game. And it's almost like those lethal puzzles that people do in Hearthstone where it's like, this is what you've got, like, figure it out. When do you use what?
I saw someone on the Elder Scrolls subreddit actually saying that would be a really good addition to one of these games, lethal puzzles, where you would have like a mini mode where it just presents you each week with a new board and you've got like a ticking clock to try and find lethal. Series in Hearthstone did a really good job of having that between matches. They would put a puzzle up on screen that would then resolve just before the next match started.
Yeah, that was a very good Hearthstone.
Duelist had something like that, didn't it, Tom? There were like challenge modes that were, those were so much fun.
So Duelist actually just got, they have this whole like single player thing where they have like, I think it's 25 or 30 basically just lethal puzzles like that teach you kind of the game mechanics slowly.
I really like the idea of that.
And then they just got rid of this, or they put it on pause, they say, where they had a daily lethal puzzle. Every single day you could log in and there would be a new thing.
Was there any reward for it?
Yeah, it was like 5 gold, which is, not much, but it's something.
You've also been playing Boobverse at my behest, right?
I have. I've been deep in card games right now. Shadowverse, which is basically just like, I think Shadowverse so far from what I've played is like a pretty good card game. Like I think it's a good card game for sure.
That is why like I tried to force you to play it, because I'd heard pretty good things that people saying that behind the weebiness of it.
That's the one thing though, is I don't honestly know if this card game would be any popular at all if it wasn't just like slathered in anime boobs, because it is like every other card is like...
It's the most evocative use of the word slathered.
Oh yeah.
PC games history.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, it's just like really shameless in that regard, but it's
the
also
mechanics
like,
are good though, right?
Yeah, it's good mechanics underneath it, and I haven't played that one very much, but I'm playing it when I can, and I kind of like dip in for a game or two each day, and like it's interesting, and I'm interested in playing more of it.
Yeah, you get a bit hot under the collar. Go back to Duelist.
Tom has to take his bow tie off and he's playing.
Oh God!
Tosses it over the side of his desk.
Oh
Good.
Jesus!
Good.
The one thing I will say about Shadowverse that really bugs me is it's like very, very, very clearly just they took the mobile version of the game and just put it on PC. Like you can't, as far as I can tell, can't full screen it. You can just make the window as big as the screen.
Yeah, going in the opposite direction.
Yeah, that reaction was my reaction, Steven. That like very confused face.
Going in the opposite direction was one of the things Heinz said was the big problem with Elder Scrolls, because they've tried it on iPad. I think just in Canada, Steve's homeland, but the account creation thing on iPad was apparently really difficult to do in a kind of like intuitive way, because I don't know. Thinking back, I'm not sure what the actual reason was, but anyway, it sounded bad. Mm-hmm. So that seems to be what they're waiting for in that game to try and kick it off a bit more.
I imagine UI design-wise, it's always easier to make something bigger than it is to make it smaller, right?
There's the subject of your GDC talk, Tom.
Maybe one day. Gambotron just subscribed, who is a guy sitting kind of over that direction, I believe. But thank you. There's a real cool question from actually Variandale. Have you ever seen a trend of Wild Hunt deck being used a lot more than others? Oh, in Gwent. So the way that Gwent works also, which I thought was cool, is that it's broken up into factions that are like basically the actual factions in the game, like Skellige, and they just added Nilfgaard, and one of them is just like the Monsters faction, which the Wild Hunt is part of. And Varendale says he's used to the game, but that one seems to be more popular. I think it's just like kind of neat is why it's more popular.
Isn't it as well? Like you choose a different hero, but you can have like different flavors of that hero, which has slightly like different special attributes.
But I haven't either I haven't unlocked those or they are not in the game yet. I don't know which that is. But yes, it's going to be similar to actually again Duelist, where it's like broken into different factions. There's a pool of neutral cards also, and then you choose your main hero card, which has a special ability in itself. And yeah, I think one of the cool things or the interesting things about the Wild Hunt thing, because I did notice that I've been running into a lot of monster decks also, and it's one of the decks I play. But the funny thing is the starter deck of that has these guys in it where, do you know how weather works in the game? If like a weather effect is like if fog goes down on one of the lanes, like the ranged lane of the thing, everything on that lane gets minus or goes to 1 strength rather than whatever it is. And there are these creatures in the starter deck of the monsters thing called foglets, where if fog shows up, all 3 of these 2/2s that are in your deck or graveyard rush out onto the field for free. So you don't need them in your hand.
Like Patches the Pirate?
Kind of like Patches, yeah. Tim is triggered again.
That sounds really annoying.
Well, the funny thing is, weather effects
they're quite underpowered, though, aren't they?
In almost every case, there's like one card that will let you do this otherwise. Weather effects are always symmetrical. So if you use it on your side of the board, it's always on their side of the board too. And the funny thing is, in the starter deck, there are these foglets and there are fog cards. And so now that, 30,000 or 40,000 whatever new people are in the beta, everyone is using starter decks, and a lot of people are using the Wild Hunt decks, and everyone has foglets in their deck. So you play this fog card to get your like super special fog units out, and like they get the exact same units and nothing has happened, and it's a wash.
Is it good in there because there are a lot of people who are kind of new to it? Because I remember like in the early days of Legends, when everyone was new, you could climb really fast if you had like a sort of some good card game fundamentals. Whereas now, because the only people left on the ladder are like super tryhards, every game is like a sweat fest. You have to grind it out, and like you rarely get people. Well, I say you rarely get people misplaying unless you're playing against me. Well, I'll make heinous misplays. But I kind of like the idea of it being a bit Wild West and people not really knowing what they're doing. I think that's a good time in CCGs. We've actually just posted a story on the site right now, just before I left this, about like from one of our very good writers, I think, who's a psychologist by trade, about why the Hearthstone meta gets so stale and what he thinks can be done about it. So I won't bang on about cards anymore, but if you are interested, I would encourage you to read that. It's very good.
It's funny. Last time you were on the show, Tim, I left in at the very end. We had ended the show. This is for only people who listen to the podcast all the way through, so thank you if you do. You'll get this joke, but we ended the show. We wrapped up. We had a moment where we paused so I could cut it, and then Tim was like, "I didn't mention Hearthstone once," and I just left that in and then cut it.
I should just have like a section after the credits called Tim's Card Corner, and anyone can see stick around everyone, and then everyone just leaves by the exit stage left.
James just told me that Steven, you just hit 1,000 Twitter followers.
No, I did it hours ago.
Wait. Who isn't following Steve?
I don't know. If you're
not following me, like and subscribe. Smash that like button.
Yeah.
Steve, this is. I call this out specifically because Steven was picking fights with pretty much anyone who was near him in like Twitter followers
to try and raise his profile.
Yeah, so he just like randomly tagged me and was like, "Hey, I gotta beat Tom. Screw this guy." And I was like, "I don't know what's going on." And then he did the same thing to James and like.
To be honest, it started as something that I was bored one night and I was just looking to entertain myself, and so I just picked this fight with Tom, and then it turned into this joke that's gone too far where I'm still feeding into it because I have that, when like you're being annoying but you can't stop.
Tom muted you 3 weeks ago. That's the bad news. He hasn't seen any. But
I've just been really annoying, and poor James has been such a sport, but I have become his worst Twitter troll in the last few weeks.
Don't encourage James to use Twitter. He's on it.
A couple nights ago, I just impersonated his profile.
Yeah, you took him over.
I just tweeted as people as James.
Well, didn't you put my shiny head as your background header for a while?
Yeah. Just
grateful for
Tim's big forehead, and then it said, "Notice me, senpai." I don't know what I was doing.
Five head.
Before we move on, Steven, you mentioned before the show that you don't have a whole lot of now playing, right?
No, not really. Just Siege, which we'll be talking about.
Cool.
So, yeah.
I want to say Boxy the Wizard 1 just subscribed for the first time. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And then also our man JBJ Blaze with the 14-month resubscription.
JBJ!
And has made me a little happy birthday song, which I'm sorry, I'm not going to sing. But maybe it's not a song. Maybe there's just music notes. Either way, I appreciate it. Thank you for saying happy birthday, and thank you for 14 months, dude. That's crazy. But let's jump along to the first topic for the day, which is Ghost Recon Wildlands. For those who don't know, there was a closed beta this last weekend, Friday through Sunday.
I think it was still going Monday, was it?
It was like Monday at 3 a.m. It ended our time, so it was basically not. Me, Tim, James, and Chris all jumped in, and it was the first time I'd ever played Wildlands because I'd seen it at E3 and I'd seen it at some PAXs, but the lines were always like crazy long out the door, and they were on Xbox Ones in the Microsoft booth, so I didn't really care to play it on an Xbox One controller. No offense to people, I just don't really like controllers very much. But yeah, we had some surprising fun with Ghost Recon Wildlands. I was not expecting to like this game as much as I did.
No, I didn't care about it at all. And I've played like Ghost Recon as a series seems to be one of those like games that's like perpetually in a sort of identity crisis. Like they've had like there was the Advanced Warfighter one. There was one that I reviewed one back in the day.
End War.
Yeah, not that one. I reviewed one back in the day which had like genuinely one of the worst checkpoint systems I've ever encountered. Like I remember being livid with it. You could get to like the end of an entire mission and just be like shot dead, like literally with like the sort of tape in sight, and it would go, well, you better do that whole mission again, and it would just blow my mind. And where they've landed identity-wise with this one is basically Just Cause crossed with recent Far Cry games with there's some GTA in there as well. Like there's none of the Clancy seriousness at all. It's open world. It's in Bolivia. Whoever's written it has clearly watched a lot of Narcos. There's just people kind of banging on about sicarios and the war on drugs and trying to be sort of serious, but at the same time it's got like, as you pointed out, Tom, this like slightly dumb like radio system where they're kind of telling jokes but kind of not, so that doesn't.
Yeah, it's like it's trying to be GTA, but there's only one, like GTA's radio, but there's only one channel, and it only has on or off, and it's not funny at all.
And the music's shocking as well. Without wanting to just seem like a cultural Philistine who doesn't understand South American music, it's just bad. It's just like really annoying, sort of jangly.
I mean, okay, so even if you can enjoy the music as like that music, right? Like even if you can say, I thought this was good music, it's not the right music for the game.
Unless your son plays in the band that is making that music, I don't think you'll enjoy it.
Ouch! Whoa! But I think the main thing I want to bring up real quick though, because I know there's going to be a lot of this in the comments and a lot of people listening. If you've watched streams of it, if you were in the beta yourself, it's a broken game. Like it has to be said, the performance was not great. There were a lot of bugs and a lot of glitches that I noticed. The driving is like terrible. Probably the worst open world driving I've ever done in a game before. But despite all that, like I still just had fun like running around with you guys in it.
Weren't the cars quite bad in Mafia? One of the previous Mafias?
I never played any of the Mafia games, actually.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. This was a game which I was not interested in at all. You're completely correct to say that, like, performance-wise, I was getting, like, fairly regular freezes where the whole screen would just, like, lock up for, like, fully 5 seconds. And then usually be, like, I would be driving a car, and I would say, and I would just say, like, Chris, go, what are you doing? And I went, like, I don't know, because it's frozen. And I think, like, on his screen, we'd be, like, just driving through trees and like completely glitched out, and then it would like rubber band us back to where it was when it had frozen. So it kind of righted itself, but it was clearly it's clearly like not in amazing shape technically, or at least it isn't, I think, when you're playing with other people. When I played solo, I had much less of the issues. Frame rate was much more stable and stuff,
but it's also much less fun alone.
But it was a lot of fun. Yeah, the way when you kind of like, I remember as a kid, like having an idea of a video game where like you and your buddies could be like running around in a helicopter, like shooting up a jungle. Like I guess I was too sort of like hopped up on Vietnam films as a young boy in Britain. And like this game is like that. Like we would be like sort of flying in formation with like choppers and then doing like trying to do mid-air sniping and stuff over villages. And it seemed like really entertaining. And yet when we posted the story about it with our kind of like fairly jolly comments, a lot of the readers were very down on it, I thought.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of the criticism with it is fair. Like, I think that if I wasn't playing with you guys, I probably wouldn't like it very much.
How much of it do you think that is the issue? Because reading it, I think that was the issue. Like, played on your own, I think it would probably seem just a bit bust. But with other people, like, tons of fun stuff was happening.
It was really amusing. Like, we did this, there were a lot of moments where, I'm going to tell the story because I love it, is like, I drove around a lot and I did the helicopters a lot for us.
You were the wheelman.
Yeah, I was the wheelman. And there was one time where me, and Chris were in a helicopter and we had kind of like hovered over to this compound that we were trying to you know, I don't even, like the missions were kind of generic. I think you were trying to like kill some guy or interrogate some guy. It was very...
Tag an oil drum. It's really big on tagging oil drums.
Yeah, they love tagging oil drums in that game. But... We hovered the helicopter over, you two sent down drones, kind of tagged a bunch of people, and then we saw this giant construction crane.
Well, I'd actually seen the crane earlier, if you recall,
okay.
because I'd said, like, oh, that crane would be an amazing sniping position.
Yeah.
And it had a ladder, but the ladder doesn't reach to the ground, because I guess it's just
for show.
It's just for show, yeah. And then you said, Tim, I would deliver you that dream.
Yeah, and so we hovered over the base, and then Chris jumped out and parachuted down to the ground to get into his position. And I hovered over to the crane, and like the helicopter controls are like better than the driving controls, but they're still touchy. And I hovered just right next to it. I got you right there, and you hopped out and used it as a sniping perch, or attempted to use it as a sniping perch.
Yeah, because while I was getting excited and telling you how great it was going to be, I accidentally activated my drone and fell off the crane. Imagine if that had happened to Lee Harvey Oswald, the whole course of American history would be different.
Oh my God.
If he'd just suddenly fallen out of the book depository building window, smashed on the street. What's that guy?
Oh
He's got a rifle.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Most of the missions kind of went that way. Yeah, like we would go in with good intentions, and then it would become a shambles, and then we'd like flee in a burning van or something.
How's the difficulty level? Like, is this something where you feel like you were, I guess what I'm trying to say is, was it rewarding to sort of develop and then execute a strategy? And did you feel like the game challenged you in order to do that properly, or did it all just go to hell?
Both, I think.
Okay.
One of the things I do really like about the game is how lethal the weapons are. Like enemies.
That's retained from the other Clancy games, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like pretty much one or two bullets will put like anyone who's not in armor down.
Yeah, weapons are enemies go down quick. You go down quick too. And the nice thing about that is like you can just drive a car into the middle of a base and like jump out and start shooting, but like odds are you'll get taken out that way. And it definitely does reward stealth. Like the game really is effective if you go in really quiet, you plan out your targets. Like you, Chris, and James did this great thing at one point where there were like 3 snipers in 3 different towers, and you like marked each of the snipers and then all took your shots at once and like took them all out at the same time.
You can do that with the AI as well. It's got like a sync shot thing. Like you said though, Tom, like one of the problems is like with any open world game, they do tend to be, even like, you know, GTA, which has got 500 developers on it or whatever, and the crazy budget tends to be a bit glitchy. And sure enough, like in this, I had like missions where like there was one I was doing when I was playing a little bit on my own on Sunday, and I would just drive past this watchtower. I wasn't even in a mission. Each time it would say like leaving area of operations, return in 15 seconds. There was nothing I could do, and I would just die at the end of 15 seconds. And I was just like...
But part of that is the beta,
I mean, it's a beta, yeah.
Because that map is going to get much bigger.
Yeah. What I did feel though was like a compulsion to keep progressing with it. It has like a weapon modification, like collection and modification thing that seemed kind of fun. It had like plenty of character customization, which I dig changing the pants of characters, so that was good. The most positive thing I can say for it is that it was not a game I was going to play before the beta. I had like basically no interest in it, and now I feel like I'll play it straight away, and we'll try and probably get a little group together and go through some of it.
Yeah, Stephen, to your point on difficulty too, like I think that I don't think there were many missions that didn't go to shit for us. Like, I think almost always it just ended in, like, explosions and let's get the heck out of here. But, like, I don't know. I didn't play it on the harder difficulties. James said that said it didn't really get too much harder on the harder difficulties.
Well, what does it do with difficulty if you're in with other people? Because
I believe it scales it up. Maybe at least in, like, number of people or something.
But what
like
if one
that.
of you's on easy and one of you's on hard? It just like.
Oh, I don't know then. I actually don't know.
Someone must have to set like a global difficulty.
Yeah, maybe it's the host.
Yeah.
That's one thing it does nicely. Host migration goes really quick.
That was smooth, yeah.
But anyway, the other thing that I saw in a comment in the chat is like, how long are you going to want to keep playing it? I do agree that the weaponry and the kind of level up system is nice. The biggest factor to me, and if I'm going to want to keep playing it, is if the other environments of the map vary at all. Because this environment was very, very samey in that it was all like foresty hills that were kind of hard to navigate and like had a lot of turns, and the driving physics are so bad that was a little
that's
annoying.
part of the problem of setting it in a real city. In a real country. Is like,
Yeah.
I guess that's just what Bolivia looks like.
Maybe. Or, I don't know.
I don't know if they can put in like a lava level, for instance. Maybe they can.
No, yeah, that's a good point. But if they can vary the environments, I think I'll want to keep playing through them.
Yeah.
But if they can't vary the environments and it's very samey, I probably will lose interest.
I think likewise the factions as well, because they're kind of two you're up against, right?
I want to say in the trailers though, I've seen some different looking environments. I mean, not a lava level. They go to space, but like.
That's what Call of Duty's literally doing these days.
That's right.
Put them in space. They haven't been in space yet.
I want to play this real quick clip as we talk over it of James when you guys were playing. You guys were in a helicopter chasing this convoy truck that you needed to stop. And James was like, I got an idea. And he just rams the truck with the helicopter, which breaks the helicopter, but also derails the truck and like totally works. And it's that kind of thing that this game is really good at, is just these like weird, like anything goes sort of attitude.
Chris and I were joking that there's unexplored territory in making a simulation shooter based on the Blackwater mercenaries, and it could be like this. Like they're goofy idiots who end up shooting everywhere up. Obviously, it's probably a bit too dark a topic, but
yeah, it's like, ooh, that clip single-handedly made me want to play this game though.
Yeah, and I think that like maybe this is getting a little too judgmental or whatever, but like I'm okay with liking this game for that. Right? Like, this game doesn't need to be Dishonored 2 to me. It doesn't need to be this, like, amazing thing. Like, I'm okay with jumping in a helicopter with my buddies and, like, shooting some people, like, it just is, like, it can be silly fun. It doesn't have to be much more than that.
My favourite clip, which we probably don't have to hand, but you can find on my Twitter page at Timothy D. Clark if you scroll back down to it. Tom was basically, like, Chris and I were driving around in, like, a stolen sort of Lamborghini knockoff. And so Tom goes, I'll come and get you in the chopper. He's with James. And we're all right, cool, we'll park and wait. As Tom's coming into land, like Chris and I like simultaneously decide, well, we don't want the rebels to collect the lovely car. I'll grenade it and Chris will call in a mortar strike. Unfortunately, like Tom landed next to the car as these two things happened.
They didn't tell me.
Immediately like engulfed in massive explosions, and he started shouting like it was the Hindenburg disaster. So that's satisfying.
I sat down. I was like so happy. I was going to go pick you guys up, and then I sat down and just immediately blew up for no reason.
Just the best part about that was just Tom being, why?
Yeah.
I want to point out that Evan Lottie, editor-in-chief, is in the chat, and every single time we talk about something positive about Wildlands, Evan is just there to say, Arma. Arma does this. Just play Arma.
I'm going to say this is not for the Arma crowd. This is not a game for serious soldiers.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't... And it's funny because the gameplay clearly doesn't take itself seriously, but from what I can tell, the story like really is trying to be a Tom Clancy story.
I think it's basically like LARPing, but for like military. Do you know what I mean?
That's the greatest description I've ever heard.
Put that on the box, Ubisoft. You can have that one for free.
It's like LARPing, but for the god.
So the funny thing though is
Beautiful.
like the intro of the game. You're first flying in, and this woman who's like your contact there is like talking to you like you're these super soldiers that have this long history, and she's like, man, it's so amazing to meet you. You guys are like myths. Some people didn't even think you existed. And then like 5 minutes later, we're like sticking 3 dudes out of a van with assault rifles, like running civilians over. Like
the theme music should be like Benny Hill. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like we're ghosts, and actually we're just like rampaging on tractors through the countryside. It's like, what is this?
Oh
disparity?
yeah. We found we jacked 3 tractors and did our own sort of like Rocket League in a Bolivian field. It's good.
Evan just linked saying that Arma is not exactly a serious game also, and linked me to a video where they get killed by a volcano in Arma.
Evan is wearing full combat fatigue as he types this. Bear that in mind.
Is that actually a volcano in Arma 2? Oh my goodness. I had no idea.
What is the red bit like meant to be like or is that the actual volcano smoke that's red?
I don't know. I don't know the physics of Arma. All I know is that is a volcano, and more than I expected. But yeah, apparently we got to play Arma 2 instead of Ghost Recon Wildlands.
I'll be down to play Arma. Down to try it.
Should do it.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, like, just to be very, very clear, I think that all of the complaints I've seen in our own comments about this game are 100% like on. Like, the driving is bad. It's glitchy. It doesn't really run very well. I mean, it doesn't run terribly. It's not like unplayable, but like for some people, it's the type of performance that is like you should not be proud of if you made.
I mean, I was running it on a 1080 and I turned it down to like medium.
Yeah. I was running it okay on a 970 on like high, but it like hitched, and I don't really care about frame rates to the level that some people do. Like there are some people that are like, if it's not 60 constantly, I can't play it. I'm like, as long as it's between like 40 and 60, I'm okay. And it was basically within that. But like, yeah, all the complaints I think are valid. I just think I had a lot of fun with it too. So, you know, deal with it. It's my birthday. Steven, I'm excited to get you in and play that as well.
Yeah. I was away on the weekend, so I couldn't jump in, but I'm looking forward. It looks cool. I'm excited to try it.
Is 4 people the max in one instance?
Yeah. It's 1 to 4, and if you are playing with 1, you get 3 AI people.
Yeah.
And that's like fine. It's just not. It's not the same, I guess.
We probably have enough people on PC Gamer that we could just have 2 different groups going at any one time.
Yeah.
Or we could try and see who got furthest quickest.
Oh, that was actually a pretty cool thing that I do want to say also, is that it was really nice to just like drop in, drop out.
Yeah.
Like everyone has their own missions that they've like selected at a given time, or you can go jump on the same mission, and if someone just leaves, they just leave, and if they pop back in, they pop back in.
Like I found it more fun than when we were first playing The Division, which maybe is like damning with faint praise, but
yeah, no, I agree. The Division I played and I was like, this is all right. I guess I'll keep playing this. And this I was like, I actually want to jump back in. I was not a huge fan of The Division though. But
Yeah.
let's have some fun, because it is my birthday and I want to do a Catfantastic today. For those of you who do not know, Catfantastic is the name of our... it's a silly name for a silly quiz that we do about silly things, video game related generally. You guys can play along at home. The way we do it today is it's going to be, since it is my birthday, a little bit birthday themed. What that means is I have looked up everyone on the staff's birthdays, and then on PC Gamer staff, and I have grabbed... I think it's 6. Here, I'm going to turn the monitor so Tim can't see the questions. But I grabbed 6 people whose birthdays coincided with the release of a very well-known popular video game.
we have to match the people to the games.
No. So I'm going to just give you a description and a release date of a game, and you're going to have to tell me what game came out on that person's birthday, essentially, based on that description. To give you an idea, like, I didn't include myself because, like, basically nothing came out on my birthday. Like, there are not good games that came out on my birthday. But some other lucky people, like Steven Mesner, or he got a lot of good games that came out on his birthday.
Yes.
You know what came out on my birthday? Battlestar Galactica Online. Who cares about that?
What? No, that's the greatest MMO that's ever made, man.
I'm sorry. I apologize
And
to
I
everyone
know
who plays,
MMOs.
Yeah. Apologize to everyone who plays Battlestar Galactica online.
Yeah.
I actually don't know enough to
shame.
judge that game. But let's begin. Let's go in chronological order by birthday, because we're going to be fancy that way. I do have one for Tim, and I do have one for Steven, because you guys are on specifically. But I can't, like, I did this with the idea of, like, I'll do my birthday to start, and, like, there was just nothing.
There were barely video games when I was born.
Big rigs.
Big rigs. James got horses with a Z.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
No, so it's not. These aren't games that were released on the same year.
Oh, just on the same day.
On the same date, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The high concept was a little bit too high for me.
All right, starting with Steven, January 22nd. Now this is where if my Facebook stalking got something wrong and your birthdays are not actually when I think they are. But January 22nd.
No, that's right.
Released on January 22nd, 2008. This open-world racing game recently came back into the spotlight when positive comparisons were drawn between it and Forza Horizon 3.
Project Cars?
Burnout Paradise.
Those are your final answers? We're gonna give.
Or is it when they rebooted Test Drive? I'm gonna say Project Cars.
The answer is, and I'm gonna let people kind of file in a little bit on chat, but the answer is Burnout Paradise. Congratulations, Steven. 1 point for Steven.
Dun, 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 dun.
You've been all about John Cena today.
Dun.
A couple other games. I also gathered a couple other games of like that have also come out during these times.
Okay.
So, or during these dates. So, also coming out on Steven's birthday was Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden in 2008.
Have a great birthday.
And then not in the PC realm, because there were some that were notable-ish that were not on PC. Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball came out in 2003. That was the start of that series, Steven. Congratulations.
I've played that. I've owned that.
Thank you, world.
Parappa the Rapper 2 in
Get
2002. And this is a good one. Balloon Fight in 1985 came out on
No
your
way.
birthday. Yeah.
I've never been more proud to be an Aquarius.
We'll jump it along to the next one, which is Wes, our own Wes Fenlon, born on January 29th. Okay. So released January 29th, 1996. 96. This is the third and potentially most iconic game in a series that would have to wait 15 years for another proper main game sequel, despite that sequel being announced and advertised the very next year. Once again, released January 29th, 1996, the third and potentially most iconic game in a series that would have to wait 15 years for another proper main game sequel, despite that sequel being announced and advertised the very next year.
1996.
With the sequel advertised in 1997,
It was a number 3.
but didn't come out until 2001.
Was the next main game? Was
Oh,
it?
excuse me,
was
not
it,
2001, 2011.
I'm going to say Command and Conquer.
The chat has gotten it already.
Was the next game numbered 4?
Oh, yeah.
No, the
chat
next
got
game
it.
was not numbered 4. No cheating, Steven.
No, I know. It's fine. I said Command and Conquer, so
Okay,
I'll
okay.
stick to that answer, even though it's wrong.
No idea.
You got no guesses?
It's Burnout Paradise.
Numbered 3. No, I can't remember 96.
I was 6 years old.
Yeah, I was at university.
Oh, Tim, you're old.
I know. Super old. No, I don't know.
The answer is Duke Nukem 3D.
Oh.
Duke Nukem Forever in development hell for 15 years.
That was the clue.
So Wes had Duke Nukem 3D come out on his birthday. The only other notable game on Wes's birthday was Sim Coaster in 2001. All right, Tyler. We're going with Tyler Wilde next, April 24th. I like this one. This was a fun one for me to find. I think one Tyler would be proud of. Released April 24th, 2004, this student-made puzzle game would land its creators jobs at Valve, working on a successor with a much simpler name.
Portal.
Portal. Wait, is it a trick question?
I'm gonna read the question again. This student-made puzzle game would land its creators jobs at Valve, working on a successor with a much simpler name.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, what was Portal not derived from something then?
No, it was. You guys are on the right track here, and some people in the
it's
chat
just what was the original name for Portal?
So those who don't know, the students at DigiPen made a game that got them hired at Valve to basically remake that game that became Portal. The question is, what is the name of that game, which came out on April 24th, 2004?
I feel like we got it right by saying Portal.
But no, the actual name was something really weird. It was something like something tacular.
That's close. That's actually close. I'm going to give you half points if you want it. I'll give you like a quarter point.
Teleportacular.
Was it like Narbtacular?
That's actually pretty close. It's called Narbacular Drop.
Oh.
That was the DigiPen game.
Narbtacular. That was so...
Damn, Chris86 in the chat is like on freaking fire this game.
Did Chris get it again?
Yeah.
Chris, you're lit today, man.
He is. He's doing great.
You can see why they renamed it to Portal, though, can't you?
Yeah, you can.
Students, they should have got an F.
I'm proud of both of you guys got Portal immediately, but not quite right.
Valve don't have that many games, do they? So narrowed it down.
Yeah.
Next, we've got Evan, June 29th. Evan, I think hopefully you're in the chat. I think you'll like this one being on your birthday.
Is it Arma?
No, it's not. Although actually, Arma 2, there was Arma 2 DLC released on his birthday that I did not include. So there was an Arma thing on Evan's birthday.
What day that must have been.
But released June 29th, 2000. This game is the sequel to one of the most influential RPGs ever released and has recently had parts of itself resurrected in other games. You think you got it there?
Yeah. Diablo.
Once again, June 29th, 2000.
Yeah.
This game is the sequel to one of the most
Diablo
influential
2.
RPGs
Diablo
ever
2.
released.
Diablo 2. You know what I meant.
So excited though.
Oh,
And released,
got one right.
and released
Is that your
parts of
final
itself.
answer? Yes, and then you just lose.
Diablo 2.
Diablo 2.
That is correct. Diablo 2 came out in June 29th, 2000. Other games that came out on Evan's birthday, Diablo 2's DLC the year later, on the same day. APB Reloaded in 2010.
Oh.
An old RPG called Silver in 2000. And a game called Icewind Dale in 2000, another famous RPG. So real quickly, before we continue, Silver, Icewind Dale, and Diablo 2 came out on the same day in the same year. 2000 must have been a crazy good year for RPGs. Holy crap.
It kind of blows my mind that Diablo 2 came out in 2000 and World of Warcraft is only like 3-4 years after that.
Yeah.
Like, think about those games.
No, it's
and
pretty,
what they
it's
represent.
pretty surprising. It's nuts. And that's just like, damn, that is quite a combination of games. Also not in the PC world, Banjo-Kazooie also came out on Evan's birthday in 1998. Oh, I didn't do Tyler. I apologize. Other games that came out on Tyler's birthday were Monaco, What's Yours Is Mine in 2013, and Tropico, the first Tropico in 2001. And then also Rampage Total Destruction, but that doesn't count because it never came to
Tyler
PC.
is a dictator.
Yeah, makes sense.
The strong man of PC gaming.
That's right.
All right. We got two more for you guys. Next one is Chris on July 12th. Released July 12th, 2000. Again, 2000. This Sega-developed sports game started out in Japanese arcades and shares part of its title with an unrelated Sega fighting game series.
Oh,
It would be Virtua something.
Virtua Striker
There you go.
is the correct answer.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
I'm going to read the question one more time. This Sega-developed, released in 2000, Sega-developed sports game started out in Japanese arcades and shares part of its title with an unrelated Sega fighting game series.
I would say Virtua Striker because football is popular in Japan.
Because I just said it as well.
Yeah, that too.
So this might have been...
I got the first part.
This might have been my fault because I didn't realize there were other Virtua games, but it's actually Virtua Tennis.
Oh, what? This is bullshit.
Son of
I didn't realize there was even a thing called Virtua Striker.
Yeah.
Well, you should have done your research.
I should have.
I guess it didn't come out that day, though.
Yeah, but if I had said Virtua Tennis, if I said tennis game, you would have just said Virtua Tennis.
Virtua Tennis is great. Virtua Striker
You could have done
is
a little
bad.
like hat tip at the end, like balls in your court, gentlemen.
Yeah, they had like a Virtua Racing as well, of course.
Steven should take
Yeah.
over. He's that's too good. Another only other notable thing that came out on Chris's birthday in July 12th, 2005 was Flat Out, which is a racing game I really liked and kind of seems like it's faded out of existence.
Was that the one where you would eject your driver
Yeah.
through the dashboard? Okay, yeah.
It had darts where you would literally drive your car down a ramp and eject your driver through the front windshield by crashing and try to hit certain darts.
I went to
That was a fun game.
I went to see the Flat Out developer in Helsinki many years ago before I worked on PC Gamer, but there was a writer from PC Gamer there at the time, and we were sharing a room. He got so drunk that the next day his hangover was so bad he fell asleep during the interview, but professional balanced his dictaphone on his chest so that it was still recording while he was asleep. Different times.
Okay.
The golden ages.
Yeah.
I'm expecting Steven to get this one. The last one is Tim on August 13th. Released August 13th, 2013. This grand strategy game is the latest in a series dating back to 2000, though there were probably considerably less mods back then.
2013, 3 years ago, 4 years ago now.
Oh, Crusader Kings 2. Is that it?
August 13th, 2013. This grand strategy game is the latest in a series dating back to 2000, though there were probably considerably less mods.
No, it wouldn't be Crusader Kings. The mods part is freaking me out. Why would you think I would get this?
I don't know, because you like mods and stuff.
I'm the mod guy.
No, that's Chris. You can't take that from him.
I know. Jeez, I don't know. Grand strategy game is the latest in a series dating back to 2000. Would that be SimCity count?
I'll give you no, SimCity's not a grand strategy game. What are you, bonkers? What are you, mad?
Oh, just take my credentials away. I'm done.
Oh my god.
put me out of my
I'll
misery.
give you this hint. You were close with your first guess, but not right.
Europa Universalis. Or is that what it's called?
That is correct. Europa Universalis 4,
I wouldn't go
also by Paradox. So close.
Yeah.
Also heavily modded. So Tim, that came out on your
SimCity
birthday.
is definitely a grand strategy game, by the way. Grand is such a subjective term. How can you tell me that SimCity is not grand?
So you were just using grand as like the adjective grand, not like the genre grand strategy.
Yeah, just like a great strategy.
Nice.
So like an
grand
immersive.
This nice strategy game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like an immersive sim is just a sim game that's like really immersive.
That's right.
It's like Elite Dangerous is a pretty immersive sim game, man, right?
That's right.
Other games that came out on Tim's birthday, Bionic Commando Rearmed in 2008, which I thought was a really good game that didn't get enough credit either. But
Was that when the guy had like the Trustafarian dreadlocks? Was that reboot?
what?
Or was that just called Bionic Commando? There was
I don't know
a
about that
Grin, the
reboot.
Swedish studio, rebooted. Rebooted Bionic Commando a while back, I think.
I don't remember dreadlocks in that game now. The other games, Moonbase Commander came out in 2002, an old game. I just wanted to see if I made you feel bad by saying old when I said 2002.
I mean, I'm under no illusions as to how old I am.
And then outside of the PC realm, F-Zero came out in 1991, the original one. So that must have been a pretty okay birthday. Also, that was the year I was born, to make you feel really old. So
I had because I was from the era of Super Nintendo. I had a friend who kept his in a shoebox, and then he cut a hole in the top of the shoebox that he would insert the cartridge through into the Nintendo because he didn't want to get dust into it, despite the fact that it had flaps to stop exactly that happening. Strange boy.
The other person that I almost included on this list, but there wasn't like a really good like key game to pull out, was Jared Walton, because he's born on November 1st. And by the way, so many games have come out on November 1st. It is insane. It's like, I mean, because November is a busy time anyway, right? The other interesting thing I saw out of this, and I didn't grab the exact numbers, at least 5 or 6 of us have had a Pac-Man game come out on our birthdays, which I think...
That's because there's a million Pac-Man games.
Yeah, I think it literally just means that there's like a Pac-Man game released on every day of the year, basically. Like, there were too many Pac-Man spin-offs.
That's what it did for the creator of Pac-Man this week. They were still making him make games.
What now?
One for every person in the world.
Oh my god. Well, that was our Catfantastic for the week, our birthday-themed Catfantastic. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've actually got another Catfantastic. I'm going to wait, not next week, but I've got another one in the chamber, so it will not be another 3 months before we get a good one.
Just make sure I'm not on the show next time it's quiz.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be good. It actually came.
We did pretty good.
No, you guys did well. I thought you did fine.
Well, do we have 50% win rate? I'll take that.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I'll give you half credit again for Virtua. You got the Virtua part?
To be honest, for research, because I didn't even know what Catfantastic was, I went back and listened to a bunch of old podcasts, and I think we stacked up pretty highly in the grand echelon of Catfantastic quizzes.
Well, we'll try to get someone on next time for who's experienced with the game that this next quiz is about. It actually came from a Discord conversation, so I think it'll be a fun one. But let's move on. Let's talk about some Rainbow Six Siege. Tim, I'm going to turn the monitor so you don't have to hide it away from you anymore. Let's talk about Siege, because Siege is it's going into its second year. It just had its World Championships, Steven, which you were at live.
Yes.
Tell me what's going on, basically. How is the event? Because Siege is, it's been out for a year, but it hasn't really found too much of an esports following yet.
Nope.
At least in viewership. But then this hit 60,000 people during its finals, so it's it did fine.
Yeah, it was good. So the whole event was kind of two separate things. It was the Invitationals, which is their first global championships, world championships, and then the second thing that they did was also sort of a preview of everything coming in year two and sort of laying out their roadmap, and then also more immediately getting hands-on with the Velvet Shell update, which is already live. If you have bought the season's pass, you can play the operators, and the map is also out now, the new map Coastline.
Did you say it's called the Velvet Shell, Stephen?
Yeah, Velvet Shell.
Is that shell like bullet shell?
Bullet Shell, yeah.
All right. It sounded quite erotic, I thought. The Velvet Shell.
I mean, to be honest, it's a pretty erotic update. It's all purple and pink. The loading screen is the character's boots with a broken martini glass next to it. You could interpret it as erotic. I'm certainly turned on by it because it's a fantastic update. So.
Oh my god!
Stop! I can only get so aroused.
Tom takes off his bow tie.
Oh no!
Shadowverse on every monitor. You just can't see it.
Oh my god.
We should do PC Gamer Show after hours.
No.
Should we?
No one wants that. I'm gonna get emails now asking for that, I hope. Or don't.
Sorry,
hope,
okay.
Excuse me.
Whew, bringing it back. Being a professional.
How was it as a viewing experience?
So it was really good. You can tell that Ubisoft is really invested in Rainbow Six as a game, and then also doing what they can to make it sort of an esport. And I think it has potential to be a sort of B-tier esport. I think it's fun. I really enjoyed watching it. There was a lot of drama. There was a lot of really cool kind of those moments you want watching an esports. I mean, the finals. I would recommend anyone go on the Twitch video on demand and watch the final round. It was really good. It went into overtime. There was lots of back and forth. You had no idea which team was going to win. So it was, everything you would want out of a championship finals game was there. I think that game will have a bit of an uphill battle when it comes to esports. And I was thinking about this a lot watching it because one of the problems with it is, I want to draw comparisons to Counter-Strike since that's the other big shooter esport. But part of the problem I think that Rainbow Six is going to have is that it's so much fun to play. It's not that great to spectate. And it's not that it's not fun to spectate. It's that there's so much happening that it's really hard to follow.
Yeah, I was going to say it's harder to watch for me than CS:GO because I didn't play CS:GO before I started watching CSGO, and just through watching tournaments, I was able to enjoy it, and I was able to kind of pick it up a bit. I watched the Siege tournament, and I found it harder to parse than CSGO was when I first started watching CSGO.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I found it because I watched a bit of it as well, and I found like when I've been watching, like I've got a friend back in the UK who sometimes posts CS:GO videos, and there's a bit more setup with here. He's like, I'm in the basement. There's 3 guys coming to get me. Then I can kind of understand it. Whereas I'll be watching the early phases of matches here, and they'd be kind of setting up around like ingress points, and they'd be doing their little bits and bobs with kind of the RC vehicles or whatever it is that they kind of scope stuff out, and they're all kind of doing the leaning, and I just wasn't quite sure what was going on. I mean, I knew they were trying to kill each other, obviously, like, that goes without saying.
Right.
But, like, in terms of, like, strategically, like, who had the upper hand beyond, like, which team had more people. So you're right, pass is the right word. I found it quite hard to pass.
Evan, I'll let you talk, Stephen, but Evan mentions in the chat, actually, Rainbow Six Siege lacks some of the purity as an FPS, which gets in the way of spectating. And then he says also the whole shooting through walls thing means camera operators have to work the Z-axis a lot more. And that's also just true of Siege in general, is there's, often 3 to 4 floors on a map where you can't just look at a mini-map and say, oh, these people are standing here in relation to each other if one of them is 4 floors above the other.
Yeah, and that's a big problem. So, like, one of the great things about Counter-Strike is if you take, like, a bird's eye view look at any of the maps, right? So if they zoom out, it's really easy to see the flow of what's happening. You can see the terrorists moving out. You can see the counter-terrorists moving to push back. And because of the way all of the maps in Counter-Strike are laid out, very few of them have more than one plane of verticality. Even a more complicated map like maybe Office or something, really, like, there's no stacking of rooms on top of one another, but that's everything in Rainbow Six Siege. So there's maps where there's 3 floors that are all just stacked on top of one another. Not only that, but you can also attack people through floors. And so it's impossible to do like a really clean Overwatch view of the map as a spectator and get a sense of the grand sort of flow of a match, if that makes sense, because you can't see every player all at once. If anything, you can only look at one floor at a time, and at any moment you're looking at one floor and someone the floor above is going to breach down and jump into that floor. The other thing is on PC, it's funny because I actually kind of enjoyed the pacing of watching the Xbox finals more, even though I will say that, like, the quality of play is way worse on Xbox. But because of that, it was much slower paced and it was a little bit easier to, like, digest what was happening. But with the PC, it can happen so quickly and it's so lethal that when action finally happens, it happens in seconds. The commentators can't keep up with it. Lots of the kills that were happening off screen. So you'd see someone die, you wouldn't know why they died or what was even happening. The commentators could barely keep up with it. And if there was moments where you would get into a firefight where 4 people would die instantly, it would just happen in 5 seconds, and it was really hard to track that. So I think that's kind of like a major hurdle that they're going to have to address or just accept, and it'll just be maybe Siege is just an esport that's for people who really love Siege, and it won't ever become sort of like a Counter-Strike or a Dota, which I think is fine.
Yeah,
not
doesn't
everything.
Need to. Especially considering that its player base is apparently, like, still rising right now. Like, every time they release a new update, like, more people start playing Siege.
So there's more people playing now. I checked earlier today on Steam charts, and there's aside from the free weekend spike, there's 50,000 people playing right now, roughly. And at launch, it was about 18,000 on just on PC. So every time they release an update, every time just as time goes on, that game gets more popular. So I don't think it needs to try and compete and be a big player in the esports scene. I think it's cool that there's just sort of this insular esports scene for people that are just Rainbow Six Siege fans.
How defined / interesting would you say the Siege like meta game is? Because I saw them saying they were kind of aiming to ultimately have like 100 operators or something crazy like that, which seemed to be like trying to deliberately ape the kind of, I guess, League of Legends or MOBA kind of model of having that many. Like, does it need that many characters?
No,
that seems crazy.
It doesn't. No, and they're perfectly okay with operators cannibalizing one another. The idea, when I spoke to Alexander Remy, the brand director for the game, and he was the one that said that that's what they were shooting for. So the minimum they want is 50. 100 is sort of the maximum, but I don't think they will ever reach 100. I think probably what we would see, like best case scenario, is maybe they sit around 60. And at that point, Siege has been out for 4 or 5 years. They might just start considering developing a sequel, or who knows. But this isn't something where every single operator of those 60 operators is going to be the same. From as I understand it, they're going to be this 100% distinct operator. The idea is that they want to create choice because there's sort of specific roles that a team fills. So like breacher is one of the more common ones. It's the guy who blows through walls. There's only so many ways to blow through a wall, but if they can create some really sort of more nuanced choices, and you have 8 different types of breachers, and each one of them does it just a little bit differently than the other guy. That's what they want to create, and they just want to make more choices for it. And you kind of already see that already. Like for a long time, Thermite was basically a necessity for the team because he was the only one who could break through reinforced walls. But now we have like Habana who can kind of do that, and I assume they're just going to come up with more and more ideas. And so, yeah. I think it's fine. Like they're going to have 60 operators, but they'll kind of step on each other's toes a lot just in pursuit of making more interesting decisions on which operator is right or which operator is best for the situation.
Evan chimed in again in the chat saying, without being too cynical, more operators is one of the most effective ways they can get people to keep buying stuff because they said they aren't going to charge for maps. And then he also says, and the cosmetic stuff is fine, but not that prominent or exciting, especially compared to something like CSGO.
It'll be 2019. You'll be using an operator that's like the wolf from the Three Little Pigs blowing down doors.
So that's something that Ubisoft, it's going to be like this thin line that Ubisoft needs to be really aware of, because if they're making operators that are too similar to existing operators, what's the point of buying them? Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Each new pack is like from a new country too, right?
Yeah. So they'll have to revisit countries because I can't imagine there's that many special forces teams in the world.
They'll just start making them up. Atlanta Special Forces.
Or they're gonna have to like start digging really deep, like Papua New Guinea's special, reconnaissance.
Hey, those guys are deadly, Steve. Do not call them out on this show, please.
I feel like we've been really like offensive to smaller countries this show. Like Tim's calling out like music, like South American music.
I'm a lover of the country Bolivia, but the music's awful. There's no two ways about that. Come on.
Step it up, Bolivia.
I'm sorry, you two guys are big into the Bolivian pop scene. I didn't realize.
Yeah, I'm upset. We're fighting now. Yeah, so it'll be tough. I think there's still a lot of interesting places for them to go. If the operators they released with this update are any indication, there's still plenty of interesting things they can do before they start sort of encroaching on well-tread territory by sort of revisiting the same concepts again and again. Because the 2 new operators, without a doubt, are the 2 best operators they've ever released so far.
Oh wow!
I'll say, yeah, they're amazing. They're so good.
What do you mean by best? Do you mean like they're the most effective in game? They're the most fun? Some combination of that?
No, they're so interesting in the ways that they've shook up the meta, and they're just they're just so well designed, really. They're just exciting on a conceptual level. They're not overpowered at all. They have really clear counters to them. They're not. Yeah, it's not a case where if you buy these operators, you're just going to win every game. It's just that they're so interesting and cool.
So what, and maybe this is in flux now because this update just hit, but like when you say the meta, like what is the meta of Siege? Because whenever I jumped into a game with you, it was basically just like, I'm going to pick something easy and kind of generically helppful and not really, and stay out of the way.
Okay, well, we'll talk about Jackal then, because what I like about Jackal, so Jackal is an operator. His ability is that he's an attacker. So when you get inside the base, you can track the defender's footprints and you can scan them and then lock onto them. And every 15 seconds, it'll show your team where that defender is. And then you can follow their footsteps, and the footsteps get warmer the closer you are to them. So basically, he can track down specific defenders. Why he's so cool and interesting is the meta for a long time with public matchmaking, so just pickup games, was there were a lot of defenders who were roaming around, which was sort of, for me, I always felt like it was a bit counter to what makes Siege so much fun as the defender, because what they would do is instead of hanging out in the objective room, they would spread out and try and like get behind the attackers or catch them by surprise, versus sort of like holding up and building sort of defensive layers that they'd have to breach through, if that makes sense. Jackal's really interesting because he's like an anti-roamer. So if you were someone who's trying to, hide in a room and flank the attackers from behind, Jackal will just see your footprints and be like, oh, they're just in this, like they're hiding in a bathtub trying to get the jump on us. And so single-handedly, he's shifted the meta of public matchmaking away from roaming to the point where nobody roams anymore unless they're playing Kavira, because she can roam basically invisibly. Like he can't pick up her footsteps when she's using her ability, because she's this, like she was designed to be the roamer, but people were playing other characters who weren't designed to roam and making them roam. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's one way that the meta shifted. With competitive meta, it's tough. I don't know if I'm maybe the best person to even speak about the competitive meta, because most of my time has been spent in public matchmaking and ranked matchmaking.
Well, that's fine. There was actually one other question
Sure.
from the chat that I now can't find. Mutton Bandit said something very intelligent and good, and there we go. He said different game modes dilute the player base, but all the new operators can all be played on the only game mode they have. And that was something that came out of the interviews you did too, right? Is that they were like, we don't want to make game modes, we just want to make more operators. Like, did they say specifically why? And then also just like, what do you think about that? Because a lot of people like calling for new game modes in games like this.
So I think I'm willing to accept, I'm not sure if I buy it wholesale, but I'm willing to accept their perspective, in the sense that I think a lot of times people ask for things that they want out of games because there's a problem and they think that's the solution, even though it might not be. So when I think a lot of people are asking for game modes, I think it's because Rainbow Six Siege is still sort of early on in its life and there's not this big depth of strategy that they want to have. But Ubisoft believes that game modes won't add that sort of interesting strategy and choice and depth of play. They think that lies with operators and maps. And so their logic was that operators are what makes the game interesting, maps are what makes the game interesting, and like the destructibility of those maps. Game modes don't necessarily make the game interesting, and they feel that kind of like how Dota has just its one map and its one game mode, there needs to be something static about it. There needs to be just the core foundation that everything else is built off of. And so for them, they feel like those are the game modes that they have, which is basically all Siege, and there's just 3 different variables of it. But every game mode they have is just attack and defense. It just depends what you're attacking and defending over.
Right.
So they don't want to have like a team deathmatch or anything like that. So I believe that. I think it would be fun if they just didn't take that so seriously and maybe did what Overwatch is doing, where it's like once a week they just throw out like a goofy game mode. It'd be fun, even if it's not balanced or anything, like who cares? Just it would be fun to kind of, I don't know, one week make the attackers the defenders and the defending operators the attacking operators, and just see what weird shenanigans come out of that. Or allow for a map one week where everyone can pick the same operator if they wanted to. So you can get like a ton of the same have some fun with it. I think that would just be a really easy solution that would maybe solve people's need for more game modes without actually like diluting the core element of Siege.
Yeah. I'm interested. What am I trying to say? I want to pull out one thing you said, which is I like that you mentioned that this game is early on in its life, because that's a surprising thing. That's not something I would have expected from a Ubisoft game, that like a year into its life, they're like, yeah, this is still early. We're still planning years worth of support for this. Is like,
right.
That's cool. Like that's nice to hear.
It's hard to know how much even getting to this point is like a surprise to them as well. Because I doubt they like built into the plan the notion of it becoming an esport, but the fact the audience has stuck around and does, like you guys have said, seems to be growing, has probably made that more of a viable consideration for them to try and like focus their efforts on growing that community. I don't think the game even did phenomenally well when it first launched. No. Like, it seemingly had a long tail. Yeah, definitely that. Like, it didn't do badly, I don't think, but it's cool to see a game in this day and age from any developer like continue to grow over time like that, because we're so used to this mentality. Like, people forget that League of Legends took years to get as big as it is, and so now there's this mentality of like, oh, this new game released and not very many people are playing it right now. Nobody's playing Titanfall 2 at launch. It must be a dead game. When it's like,
who knows? Maybe Titanfall 2 in a year is going to have people playing it.
I think we know.
Yeah, so in that case, we know. But what I'm saying is,
Rip Titanfall.
there is a mentality of like, if you're not Overwatch at launch, you will never be. And like, I think Rainbow Six Siege is flying in the face of that a little bit.
Yeah. And I will say, like, you know, having these interviews and just seeing the event in general and just sort of the level of enthusiasm, like, I think that Ubisoft is 100% committed to making this last another couple of years. I mean, even if you look at what they're saying about operators wanting to have the minimum of 50 operators, it's going to take them another 3 years to get there at the rate that they're releasing operators now, because they put out 8 a year. So unless they step up production on operators, it's, you know, you can reasonably expect that this game will be around for another 3 years, which, yeah, I think is really cool. I think it's cool for Ubisoft, and I think it's just a cool thing for PC gaming in general.
Well, I see a question, actually, a good one from Mutton Bandit also. So let's switch over to Twitch chat Q&A and start with that question. If you have any questions for us, tag us with @PCGamer in the Twitch chat, and we will be able to read them and answer your questions about anything this week in PC gaming, Wildlands, Siege, Catfantastic, my birthday, whatever.
Did you get any good presents?
The only thing I've gotten so far is from my parents. They gave me a waffle cone ice cream, like an ice cream waffle cone maker. And I love ice cream, so I'm really happy about that. But I was saying to Wes earlier that I know, like, this is the moment I know I'm an adult, like, officially, is instead of ordering the present and, like, wrapping it and giving it to me today, I just got, like, an unmarked Amazon box on Monday and was like, oh. And I opened it, and it was, like, a birthday present. I was like, oh, cool. Like, I'm an adult now.
"We love you, son," typed by like the Amazon robot?
There was, basically, yeah. There was like the little gift note in there with the like XOXO, happy birthday from mom and pop. And I was like, aw.
I had a chicken sandwich last night that was in waffles instead of bread. And it was apparently the 12th best chicken sandwich in America, according to some article.
According to some article.
Let me tell you, it was pretty good.
Let's start with, not to derail from the chicken, let's start with the first question from Mutton Bandit about Siege, which was, I heard there was a problem with hackers for some time in Rainbow Six Siege. What's it like now? And then also, as part of that, I also want you to answer, like, a common criticism is that the servers are shit, and Ubisoft kind of said something about that, right?
Yeah, so last year, Season 3, so the third update they released last year, was supposed to be their big health update. They made some fixes, but the servers still have problems. So this year, this whole year is dedicated to health. Like they said, last year was all about us retaining customers and growing the fan base. This whole year is now making improvements that make the game better and healthier. And part of that is the migration fully over to dedicated servers. So like the matchmaking is dedicated servers, but all of the secondary services like the voice communication and stuff is peer-to-peer. And that's what was causing them. That's what they say was causing them all of their server instability issues. So they're going to slowly start migrating all of those services over one by one. So that should hopefully make things better. Personally, I always felt that criticism was a bit overblown. Certainly on like free weekends and stuff, the servers kind of got trashed because the huge influx of players. I've definitely had matchmaking problems in that game, but it was never an issue of like every single night that I was playing, I was running into a problem. I would say, you know, out of every 10 matches I play or even 20 matches I play, maybe one of them has an issue where I get booted early. It's worse if you're playing with a party, though. For whatever reason, playing with a party just makes it... I don't know what's with Ubisoft games and having trouble playing with co-op. Because apparently Wildlands says that too.
I mean, honestly, if I may, I think making games online is just hard.
No, get out.
Not saying that's any excuse for server
Wildlands
problems.
seemed all right, actually. In terms of joining each other, it seemed fine.
Yeah, I think those big pauses, those big hitches were online problems, probably.
Oh, in terms of it streaming this data, that was an issue. But I mean, finding each other was fine.
Finding each other was fine, yeah. I think, like, not to forgive any instability issues in any game, but, like, making games online is, like, actually difficult. And, like, if there are problems with it, I'm surprised it's working at all. We're sending moving pictures from each other's computers and
That's right. Yeah, so
We're
anyway,
talking to
just
you over the internet, people.
just to sum it up, I think the matchmaking is relatively fine. It has its moments where it can be frustrating, but I think it's okay. For hackers specifically, I can't remember the last time. I can't even remember if I've ever had a problem with a hacker that was like an obvious hacker. Like if I'm going up against a hacker, they're doing a good enough job of hiding their aimbots or whatever. So yeah.
Okay, let's take another question. Chris86, longtime subscriber, asks, which game will probably be your next big time sink? For me, it's kind of looking like Gwent, actually. I have a feeling I'm going to get into that game a bit.
I'd say Andromeda. It's out in March, right?
Oh, yeah. Mass Effect.
Yeah.
That, I don't know if I'm going to get into that or not. I really can't tell yet. It looks cool, but it's just kind of like I'm still hesitant with it.
It's going to be amazing. Even if it's just like the same but slightly different, that's a bit good enough for me, probably.
Dude, they got a
I'm just happy. Yeah, I'm happy to revisit the Mass Effect universe.
I just want to be in space on a mission, you know. Sweet, cold space with some
for me, chums. Yeah, I mean, like probably Andromeda. I think the game that I'm most looking forward to dropping like 100 hours into, if not more, is Persona 5, but that's not on PC. But Persona 5 is a game I've been looking forward to for a long time.
Wasn't that going to be out on Valentine's Day and then they delayed it?
I don't know. The last time it's been delayed a few times now, but it's coming out April 4th. So it might have been due for Valentine's. It was originally due for last year.
It won't be hundreds of hours, but I'm looking forward to going into the Dark Souls final DLC, which James wrote about yesterday.
Right.
Is it the Ringed City? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's on the site at the moment. Top story, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what. There's a lot of games. I mean, I'm pretty excited for For Honor. Like, it's kind of I'm excited for like the next couple of months. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming out.
Just to continue the Siege questions, subscriber B Scappa asks, does Siege suffer from the large cost of entry? All the other main esports are free-to-play or cheap to purchase the base game. I guess the only exception to that would maybe be Overwatch, which is $40, but Overwatch doesn't have any DLC of any kind, so that's a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's obviously, of course it does, because there's not only that, so you have to buy the base game, then you have to unlock the operators one by one using in-game currency, which is a system that obviously a lot of people find contentious. That takes about maybe 20 to 30 hours of playing just to unlock all the characters, and then you're going to be paying extra or grinding in-game currency just to afford the DLC operators.
How held back are you if you stuck with like the basic vanilla operatives?
Not at all. So one of the great things is that some of the basic vanilla operatives are some of the best, most competitive operatives. Like Rook is an operative that most people say you should unlock first, and all he does is just drop armor plates on the ground for the other team to pick up, and he probably gets a pick rate in competitive Siege like 75% of the time. And a lot of like the most basic operators are a lot of the most useful. So you can play this game, buy one operator. It takes you're given an operator for free, basically. Pick an operator. As long as you make like a decent choice and pick one of the beginner friendly operators, you'll be immediately useful and people will love you. So.
All right, let's take some more questions. Varendale asks, after discussion in the Discord channel the last few days about a couple AAA games, Mankind Divided and Wildlands specifically in this case, that have tried including serious political themes and not done it particularly well, is that concept just doomed to fail in gaming for the foreseeable future? So political themes in games.
Nope. It's not doomed at all.
I agree. I don't think it's doomed, but what I will say is I think it's very, very difficult to do for AAA games, probably because, like, if you're going to do political themes, you need to do it correctly, and it's hard to do that correctly when you also have to be worrying about, like, a giant publisher and making money and not offending your mainstream audience, and, like, you have so many things that will just wash it down, and, like, if you're trying to actually make a political statement, you can't wash down the content of it like that.
The thing that I find sort of not troubling about the question, because I think it's an interesting question, but you see, like, repeated in the comments quite a bit, is this notion of, like, well, I like games to relax and I think politics should be kept out of it. But I personally think that's crazy. Not because I think like games should be used necessarily as just like a vehicle to like didactically thrust opinions down people's throats who are experiencing them, but any game that has like a reflection of the real world in it, and like, you know, institutions and people and the way they treat each other, whatever, has some sort of political component, right? Books, anytime books describe people, like you wouldn't say like, oh, I wish there wasn't any politics in books, right? They're kind of like, I just want to enjoy my books, keep the politics out of it. Like you wouldn't have like Dickens and stuff like that. So if we all kind of, as I think probably most people watching this hopefully do, believe in games as a medium and that they can be interesting and, you know, creative and evolve, then they should have like no fear of tackling almost any subject. You know, there will be plenty of bad games about politics, but there's no reason to think there can't be ones which make interesting points also. I don't think anyway. I think like, so yeah, like what concerns me is this notion that somehow they should be kept separate because politics spoils games. Like politics are just like ideas about the world, right? And like games should be about ideas about the world. Or I think they certainly can be about ideas about the world. Don't have to.
Yeah.
They don't have to be.
I agree with you though, Tom. I do think that like for whatever reason, like AAA games struggle. I think part of that is because I wonder, because like AAA games are very rarely built around like a singular concept. So like you look at Papers, Please, and that was a game that had a very simple idea of like what are sort of the implications of being a border guard in a totalitarian state, right? And then you can build the whole game spiraling out from that. But then you look at like Deus Ex, and that was a game that like the political points it tried to make weren't the heart of the game. It was just something that they sort of tacked on and bolted on top of that.
I would agree that in Deus Ex, you know, it was all the stuff about like comparing the transhuman stuff to apartheid was clumsy. It was like really on the nose. And I can see why if you're playing that, you feel like you're being hit over the head potentially with a message. But then compare that with something like, you know, the modern GTA games. They are like fundamentally, but also very funnily, commentary about like the modern world and America and about like all sorts of things in it, all sorts of culture, right? They are commentary on the culture as well as like really fucking fun to play, pardon my French. So like, and I think because they're so dialed into like spoofing the world and riffing on that sort of stuff is one of the big reasons people love them. I mean, I would say like GTA is a political game, but it's not a game that's going, you should go out and vote for party X or Y, but it's about the, you know, it's about the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good point.
It's got serious in here all of a sudden.
Yeah. I was gonna say let's take some more questions. I mean, I think that's an important thing to bring up, and I appreciate the question.
It's a good question.
Yeah,
it's a good question.
I can't think, but like I mean, he was asking, you know, in the future. I can't think off the top of my head of any game coming up that I am looking at as having some sort of interesting political message behind it either. So you know, I don't think it's doomed to fail just on its own, but I also can't think of any games coming out that are going to have, at least that come to mind really quickly, that have anything sort of inherently political about them.
BioShock, the last two BioShocks are probably ones that definitely tried to have a message, and then like Infinitely got like roundly criticised for how it handled some of its themes. But I would say like BioShock 1 said some pretty interesting stuff, took on some pretty interesting things. So like it's definitely like fraught with problems. Like if you balls it up and you can either be pretentious or worse, like crass. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a fine balance basically. I don't think any of us think it's a doomed concept though. To answer the question specifically, it just has to be done right, as many things in games do. That's an easy way to what's the word, like it's an easy generalization to make about basically any aspect of games. Is it has to be done right, and it can be successful if it does. Let's see. Let's take some more questions though. Varendeel, Shirok89 asks, Tom, are you balding? No, I'm not balding.
I can confirm I am.
I'm not that
honestly,
old.
I'm genuinely scared of balding.
Well,
you've got a fine head of hair, Stephen.
Yeah,
you're
fine.
Yeah,
you got more hair
like
than me.
everyone in my family has crippling baldness.
Live for both of us now, Steve, while you can.
Yeah, but everyone in your family also loves you and wants you to know that they're going to the store, and so that's okay.
It's funny because that topic still comes up all the time. Actually, yesterday, I mean, this is totally a random aside, but yesterday, Evan and I were in a meeting on Google Hangouts, and my dad walked in again, and the look on his face was just the most raw guilt I've ever seen in a human being, because he genuinely thought he was ruining something by walking into the office again. And he like Evan just waved at him, and my dad was just like, and then just like ran away. And it was like, Dad, it's fine. Like, people genuinely enjoy when you walk into the office.
All right, let's take one more question before we wrap up. I apologize if we didn't get to you. There were a lot of good questions today, and we always like seeing that. But let's take a last question. Where'd it go? From Kunifu. Kunifu asked, what's the game that has sat installed in your Steam library for the longest while you convince yourself you intend to play it or finally finish it?
That's a great question.
Sat installed. So I like this being installed specifically. That's a really good question. I think probably my answer is it's either Dishonored.
I thought you played Dishonored.
I played Dishonored 1, but Dishonored 2 sat installed basically since the day it came out.
Dishonored 2, I'm like halfway through, and just like I'm finding it a bit of I like it, but it's a bit of a slog.
I'm just not too far into yet, but I was really enjoying what I played so far.
Mine would probably be Stellaris, which I've like made 2 attempts at getting into, and just like I really want to like it because again I like being in sweet cold space exploring, but it's just I think it's just too hard for me. I'm too old and dumb now. So much going on. When you got to the planet and there was like the tile management of the planet, so I was just like, oh my god, that is a lot of work.
Yeah, Stellaris has been sitting on mine for a very long time, but I think the longest actually would probably be Tales from the Borderlands. Like I've had that installed since launch and I haven't booted it up once.
You're not playing that now. No way. Get that deleted, Steve. Forget it.
But no, like, I can't like let it go. It's weird how you get this, and that's why I think it's such a great a question, because I find personally like I get this weird attachment to the idea that I eventually will come back and play this game, and I know I never will.
I have like these certain kind of things like TV shows, books and stuff where in my mind I think if I ever get really sick, that's when I'll when I'll watch or read or play these. If I'm bedridden, you know.
I've gotten to the lengths of making lists. Like, so my Steam library is actually sorted by games I'm actively playing, games I'm done playing, and then games I want to play. And I'm never going to get around to those games I want to play because new games will just come out and I'll just start. Those will just jump right into the actively playing list.
Actually, you know what's one that's been installed on my computer for a long time is Starbound. I've had Starbound basically installed since the day
that feels
it
like
came
your
out.
sort of game.
Yeah, because I love Terraria too, and I love games like that. I've had Starbound basically installed since the day it came out in early access, and I played it a fair amount when it came out in early access, and then I set it down and I was like, I just want to wait for this to be done. And it finally came out last year, and I just still never. I kept being like, I want to jump back into it, and I just never did.
Have you not played it since early access then?
No, I haven't.
Because I installed it about a week ago, and I've been playing it, so we should play it together. But it is really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard great
love
things.
Starbound right now, so yeah, we should definitely play that. That game is so fun.
Yeah, no, I mean that's been in my library for a long time.
That's a good one.
All right, guys, we are out of time though. Thank you very, very much for watching. If you want to leave us any comments, go to pcgamer.com/podcast, click on the latest episode, leave comments there, send me an email at tom@pcgamer.com, or join us at discord.gg/pcgamer to join our Discord server. We're starting to do more giveaways in the Discord server. The community within the PC Gamer Discord community is amazingly generous, and they actually offer up extra Humble Bundle keys to be distributed back out. I think we're going to be doing a giveaway just after the show, so if you go there or click the link that says chat below the Twitch stream, you can join us. We're going to do giveaways at probably every show day, every Wednesday, but then also just like throughout the week. So be sure to come chat. There's a bunch of friendly, good people in there. Also, you can always join us next week, Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Pacific time, twitch.tv/PCGamer, or on youtube.com/PCGamer, or on our iTunes page, or PCGamer.com/podcast. There are so many ways to watch the show, and we love you no matter where you are watching from. Thank you very much again for a good week, and we will see you next time.
Bye.